I'm Tanya Fox, and you're listening to Fox Talks Business Podcast. I started my career in the corporate world, but always played to my own tune and loved to think outside of the box. This didn't always serve me well with the bosses, so I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And that little seed of entrepreneurial curiosity continued to grow as I branched out into retail, service, and franchise businesses. Now, I have been fortunate to have amazing successes in the last 2 decades, but they did not come without some really big failures and even bigger lessons learned. And that's why I started this podcast, not just to share the failures, but to show you how you can turn every failure into a success. We're going to hear from some amazing humans from around the world that are going to share their stories of the good, the bad, and the motivational entrepreneurial life has to offer. After all, life is too short to make all of the mistakes yourself, so why not learn from each other? And of course, we're going to have some fun, because as I always say, well, you know what? I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Claire. I'm so excited to chat with you and get to know a little bit more about your story.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. It's very exciting I love telling my story.
Now, for those that maybe aren't over familiar with you, let's give them a little bit of a background because you didn't obviously start out in this. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So first of all, I'm a very, very, very lucky lady. I get paid to sleep in hotels, get my nails done, get my hair done, and all that. Getting paid for doing it, isn't it just the most beautiful job that you can get?
Living the dream.
Living the dream, absolutely. And you know, when I was little, my dad had a restaurant, and so I grew up in that hospitality environment, that service industry. And I used to get really excited when we had the inspectors, you know, the big Michelin man. Do you remember the big
Yes.
Michelin man? We're giving, we're giving the stars, to see whether you were a good restaurant or not. And I always thought, how cool would it be to become one of them? Would have never ever dreamed that 30 years later, I would actually run my own mystery shopping company. And that's, it's been a bit of a journey to get to where I am, but it's quite an amazing kind of it's an amazing thing. I love what I'm doing. I'm very passionate about it.
So let's talk a little bit about sort of what you do now. I know, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead, and then I promise listeners I'm going to jump right back. Um, so of course we're in what we are in the world, and everybody's had to do a change, drastic change, and you've had to go through that too. And I want to talk a little bit, but before we get to that, let's really I'd like to dig down in exactly what it is that you do. Cause I know a lot of people are sitting there going, oh, that's nice. She just gets to go and get pampered all of the time. And then that's it. And then people pay her. So let's demystify that a little bit for them.
Yes, let's get the mystery shopping out, the secret out of the mystery out of the mystery shopping. That's
right.
Sorry. So mystery shopping, it's probably been since, in 1940s, 1950s. It's been really going on. I guess at that time it was more about auditing and checking about, if the employees were doing the right thing way back then. And then a lot more of last 10 years. So I used to work in hotels. I used to be a hotel manager. I used to run hotels and actually have mystery shoppers, mystery guests come to stay in my hotel. I live on a little island, which is 9 miles by 5 miles. It's called Jersey, between France and England. And I realized there was no one in Jersey actually measuring the customer service. So when you're going somewhere and you actually want to know whether your employees are doing the right thing, whether your customers are happy, whether they're selling the right way, whether being trained in the right way. So all those kind of things are, for business, it's really important to be able to manage what you do so you can really measure what you do so you can manage it. And that's what I help businesses do. So we work with organization in setting up a certain questionnaire with certain scenarios, and then we send mystery shoppers into the organizations or the call centers, all online, checking your website, checking your chat box, checking your messages, and actually being able to feedback some information to the company and look at it and say, okay, well, we're doing that right, but we're not quite doing that right. How can we fill the gap? And that's where, the next stage can come into place.
And I think for a lot of businesses, they probably think, well, I watch what my employees are doing. But we all know employees, like children, act different when the big boss is around. Because I remember being in the corporate world, and I mean, you were like, an email came in, hey, big boss is coming in, best behaviors, best, like, I mean, people never dressed better than when the big boss was coming in. So, can you give us maybe like a story or a scenario of how you helped out a business, by doing the mystery shopping?
Sure, absolutely. I've got loads of stories. Obviously, that's why I've wrote a book about it. The last 10 years, I've had 10 years of stories and thousands of visits. And I thought I'll put some of the best stories into a place where people can actually learn about it. I'll give you a quick example. For example, this is an example on how you can use mystery shopping aligning with your training. I had a client who rang me and said, Claire, do you think one of your shopper can come into our jewelry shop and try to steal something?
Oh,
Oh, and I just went exactly like that. I just
yeah.
went, oh, that's taking mystery shopping to another level.
Yeah. I'm going to need to get it in writing that you're physically asking me to steal diamonds.
Yeah. So we had to think about it, and put things in place. And then there was a few questions risen. What about the police? And, what about equipment, security, all that kind of things. But they'd actually just been doing some training to all their staff on security and thieving and how to do this, the proper way. So they wanted to check through the mystery shopping to check that their training had worked and they could manage that. So we put a program together and we sent a couple of shoppers into, one of the jewelry shops to try to steal something. And the program was so successful, we did all the branches for them because, it really gave them some really great information on the performances, but also the security, the behavior, how the employee reacted. And, luckily nothing happened. I could just imagine the police arriving and flash blues and red everywhere.
No, I was told it was okay.
That was my first, on the floor and everything. No,
yeah.
no. But, so those, that's the kind of things that when you put a program together, you can really start drilling into, working together, aligning your customer journey with, the mystery shopping. So you can pinpoint the areas where you really need some improvement and celebrate what you're doing right, because obviously this is what we want to do. We want to engage our employees. We want to tell them that they're doing the things right, but we want to give them the tools to improve. And that's what mystery shopping is really, really powerful for.
And I think that that's such a key thing and I'm really glad that you brought it up, because I know, like, I have a martial arts training background and I can't give too much away because I might have students listening, but we actually have a section of our test where it's called a blind test, where
Wow.
The students actually have to close their eyes and then, they're attacked. And that sounds bad, but it's in a controlled environment.
Sure.
But the idea of it is for them to understand how would they react when thrown into that situation? Because we always train, you train for that. And like you said, even with this, they trained how to deal if, you have a difficult customer, or how do you deal if somebody is robbing. But until you're actually thrown into that situation, it's hard to know, how would I as an owner react, or how would an employee react in that situation? So I think that that's something that maybe a lot of businesses are like, oh, I never thought of using it in that way, and how it could be very useful. Because of course, you can role play with the employees, but it's different because, again, you're expecting it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's taking it to the next level. So we had a program where right at the beginning, very first program, it was a group of restaurants, And my daughter was quite young at the time. She was probably about 8, and she thought she was a mini mystery shopper. She had a little pad. She used to write names of people when she was going in shops and things. She used to really adore it. And so we'll get to the restaurant, and I say to her, go to the toilet, just go and check out the toilet. So she's really excited. She goes to the toilet. 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. I'm just about to get up. I'm thinking there's something wrong. She comes back, rushing back from the toilet. Mom, you don't know what happened. And I'm like, well, no, I'm a bit worried. What was happening? And she says, well, I was on the toilet and the light went off. So obviously the light was on sensors. Because it was so small, she couldn't move when she tried to get
to get the sensor to go.
It didn't move. She couldn't actually find the lock thing because it was obviously, she couldn't see it. So she had to try to touch the thing. She couldn't open the door with a handle. And then once the door moved, then she was able to, the light came on. So again, a little 8-year-old girl was able to give that feedback to the company. They've changed their sensor time, the timings that then the light stays on. But I'm also thinking, well, okay, we've got those little people, they come to our restaurant and actually we have no food for them. We have no this for them. They completely redesigned their menu and what they're offering, and they increase their market of family by 40%. That's a huge increase in a market that really they didn't really think about in the beginning to start with. And being able to get that feedback was not only, they're getting, now there's light in the toilet, but also they've been able to improve their profitability by, looking at a new market that they hadn't thought of.
And I think that's true too, because I think, even if we, just keep it along with restaurants, I know that a lot of people, you create your menu, you have an idea of the food that you want, but if you're not really listening to the customers, I know there's a restaurant that we had in town that I actually couldn't go to because they had onions in all of their menu items, because the chef loved them. But I have an allergy to them. So it actually prevented me from ever going to their restaurant because it was in everything.
Everywhere.
Now, again, I'm only one person, so it's not like they're going to be like, oh gosh, well, Tanya can't have it, let's change the whole menu. But I think that's an important perspective, to kind of have. So now let's just talk a little bit, because I know that one of the questions that I was thinking, what would somebody ask? But I think some people might go, well, why wouldn't I just have my customers? Why wouldn't I just ask my customers for the feedback of their experience? So let's talk a little bit about what the difference is between just asking your customers and actually hiring someone like you or your employees to come in and actually do it.
Yeah, and it's absolutely totally right as well. Mystery shopping is one tool, part of the whole package of the customer experience that you really should be putting in place, which means, your customer satisfaction service should be in there, your employee satisfaction service should be in there, all those kind of things should be part of a whole strategy, not just the one off. So this is important to think about it. If you're thinking, I want to improve my customer service or my customer experience, do I need to do? Mystery shopping will give you an objective view on specific questions that you're asking. So the shoppers who are coming through the doors, they are being trained to answer those questions, to remember those questions and answer those questions in an objective way. Unless they've been asked, how did you feel about it? Which the last few years, a lot more businesses want to know, because at the end of the day, those shoppers could be their clients, their customers anyway. A customer will feed back and will give you something that comes from the heart. They're always either biased or they're always going to give you something because of their feelings and their emotions. It's not objective at all. So they will give you some fantastic feedback. And that's why, having that customer satisfaction survey is just as important that the objective, that is ticking the boxes and actually looking at what is happening within your organization that a customer wouldn't necessarily know. You're not going to ask the customer whether the employee upsold an item or something like that. They will tell you, oh yes, I was really lovely and they were very, very friendly, or they showed me all those things. But specific questions that will then enable the company to improve or train or adapt. And this is what the big difference between the two.
And I think that that's definitely important to know too, because like you said, a customer, if you were to say, oh, did they offer you this? The customer might go, no, but I would have bought it if they did, right? Like if you think of going to a full service gas station, even as an example, and going, did they wash your windows? No, were they supposed to, right? So they don't really have all of that, that knowledge of this is what's supposed to happen. Are they actually doing
Exactly.
it? I think customers are a little blind to that because they're like, I don't know, it was good.
Exactly. But I think a lot of the expectations have changed. We as customers, we are being a lot more demanding. We are expecting things to be much quicker, responsive, being able to get great service, and the expectation has risen a lot. And a lot of service has been done where the customers will definitely, they'll prefer buying something a little bit more expensive from a company who's going to really care about them than somebody who doesn't. They'll go there once, they won't go again. If they didn't get a good service, they won't go again. They will go to the competition.
Yeah.
And this is online and this is offline, and this is absolutely everywhere. The customer service makes the whole differentiation between you and your competition.
And do you find that even just like small things like, if we sort of talk on, about online stuff, because of course we're in a time where that is, spiking because people can't
Mm.
aren't being able to go out. And I know even myself over the holidays had ordered something online, but there was a handwritten note that said, thank you so much for your support. I have no idea who wrote it, but it was, you could tell that it was with a pen and paper. It wasn't printed. It
Mm.
was, that somebody actually did it. And as you were saying that, I thought, yeah, like they almost had my loyalty just with that. Cause I thought, isn't that
Yeah.
a nice touch?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's funny because I'm doing a series of, I'm continuing the book and doing some interviews for good customer service or bad customer service. And actually, yesterday I was interviewing a hotel manager in Dubai, and he was saying one of his staff in the restaurants every day write a little note to everybody. Your dress today, that red suits you so well. Have a good day. And she put it on the table. She remembers people's name. You know what? Imagine going for breakfast and somebody putting a little note before you go to work saying, that red color was just gorgeous on you. How amazing do you feel by reading 3 lines of somebody who's taken the time to look at what you're wearing and actually wishing you a good day? It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, does it? It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. So increasing your customer loyalty is so important. Make them, show them that you love them, show them that you care for them. And this is a big, big part of my mission to bring more care into businesses.
Well, and I think that people are looking for that more and more. They're looking for that, almost that relationship again with businesses where it isn't just, the stranger. I come in and I'm one of 1,000, you take my money and you're like, okay, good day. See you later. Like until you want to come back and, and spend more money. Do you find that's happening a lot, even with online? Because people often think that that's, sort of separated.
It isn't. And at the end of the day, whether it's online or on the phone or face to face, if you can connect on an emotional level, this is the emotional drives up buying decisions. So connect on an emotional level, do things the right way, do things that you say. So for example, we've came to speak to you. You've sent me a couple of emails, you've sent me to look at the links, you've sent me a confirmation, I got a text from you to remind me of this. This is taking care. This is reminding, yes, it's to make sure that I turn up, but it's to reminding you that, yes, I'm here. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Those little things, you didn't have to do all those things, but you do. And that's what customer service is. It's doing those little steps who are going to make the person in front of you feel that you care and bring those emotions that connect with you. That's real rapport building. That's so important.
And I think it's important, like you had mentioned before, for businesses to remember that this isn't something that needs to be huge. It could be simply, like you said, the person in Dubai, of just a small letter, or a quick little handwritten note, or something. Even just the simplest thing can mean, more than you could ever imagine. So
Yeah.
I had mentioned before that I was going to kind of jump around on this. So let's get back to that. So of course, everybody knows what's been going on in the world, but I imagine with, so much stuff shutting down around the world, I know that I'm in Canada, we're still, dealing with shutdowns, but of course that would kind of, I imagine, put quite a damper on mystery shopping. So can you tell us a little bit of, what that experience has been and how you've had to kind of shift?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I saw that gap in the market. And at the time I was, getting divorced. I was working in hotel, working silly hours, and my children were 6 and 10 at the time. And, I knew I had to do something different. I would just, otherwise it was me who was going to just go down. And so I packed a job, I sold a house, I got divorced, and we moved into a new house and started a new business. And this was always been my aim, is always been to help businesses to deliver exceptional customer service. It's just a simple. I've always been in our environment, and for me, I feel it's my purpose in life that I have to do. And when I set up was 2009, so recession time. And here we go again, 10 years later.
Right
we
back.
had
Happy anniversary.
we have a little virus, and actually I lost all my business in 3 days. So this was a bit of a, you've 10 years setting up a business, it's your baby, you've seen it grow, and so much going on. It was a really tough time, and actually thinking, what am I going to do about it now? And once I've picked myself up from the floor, but my little voice in my head, you still have a mission, Claire. Whether there's a pandemic or no pandemic, people will still have customers. Businesses still have customers. You still need to help people. So it was about, then being able to transform and moved everything that I was doing offline, online. So the mystery shopping, which was face to face, now I do e-mystery shopping. So I'll mystery shop your website, I'll mystery shop your coaching program, I'll mystery shop your virtual events, and give you some feedback on what's going on, your chat boxes, all those kind of things that didn't really come into place before. We can do things like online training, and now I can be training somebody in Asia in the morning, speaking to you in Canada now, and I'm in Sweden tonight. In 2 hours I'm in Sweden. We would have never been able to do that before, and that's what it is. There's always, when there's opportunities to look and be able to help, and we all have customers. And we need to remember that. I mean, it's something that sometimes drives me insane, but if you have no customers, you have no business, right?
Right. But people forget that, right? They get so, I think that a lot of, entrepreneurs, and especially with everything that's been going on, have almost kind of fallen into, like, they're just trying to survive. And they've forgotten that that survival is so dependent on that customer or that client or that person who's willing to give you money, but we sort of
Yeah.
break that.
Yeah, totally, absolutely, and it does. There are so many stories, and you think people are not answering emails, or they're not calling you back. You want to give them business, and they're not, and you're like, what is wrong with people? I actually want to give you money. Well, if you don't want it, I'll go somewhere else, and so yeah, and it's the same and we need to bring that into the employees as well. Obviously, if you're a sole trader, you just need to focus on your customers. But if you've got a small business, a small team around you, you need to care for those employees just as much as what you need to care for your customers, because they're your internal customers at the end of the day. And in that pandemic, they just worried, they just stressed, they're just the same. And so there's a big emphasis. If you have happy employees, you'll have happy customers, and you'll have happy bottom line. It's just as easy as that, isn't it?
And I think that that's a real key thing that you hit on. And I think it's important to reiterate it, is that we often forget that our our biggest customers are our employees, because that's who's selling everything for you. And so even I've owned retail before, and that was always one thing that I recognized, that if they really liked stuff, they were more apt to sell it. So I included them in when I was doing ordering, or, when I would go to, look at a new supplier, I would always bring them with me. Who's really interested in this? Because I know
Mm.
that if they were excited about it, they were talking about it. They were like, oh, we got this new thing at work and it was so fun to play with. And so I think really having that buy-in, no matter what industry you're in, is really important, because if they're excited about it, they're going to get the customer excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's the same also with mystery shopping. When I started, there was a bit of a bad, and still in certain countries, it's not used the proper way. But mystery shopping being a bash on the head. We're secretly watching you, and then we're gonna sack you if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing. But it's not like that at all. Mystery shopping is a tool, to celebrate what you're doing right. As an employee, you want to know what you're doing right and get that feedback so you can learn more. You can upskill yourself. You can feel more comfortable because you actually have been taught what that Hoover is doing, or you can actually sell it because you've been taught how to use it. And so being able to be very transparent with a mystery shopping program is key. You need to roll out the mystery shopping internally before you roll it out externally, because your employees, you said that right at the beginning, you said, oh, employees will start budgeting, and they put their best clothes on because they know the boss is coming. So straight away putting a program, people start behaving a bit differently, but it's for their own good. And that's the positive out of it.
So we had mentioned the book a little bit. Let's talk a little bit, more about what made you decide to write the book, and then tell us a little bit about what people will find in it. So maybe even another little story, because I know there's probably people like me that are like, "Oh, I love those stories."
Yes, well, I guess I've been wanting to write this book or blogs for quite a few years, and I'd actually connected with my clients and saying, look, I'm going to start a new blog. It's going to be called The Secret Diary of a Mystery Shopper. And I've had a few back of them, my clients coming back saying, oh, Claire, we're such a small island. I don't really want you to be telling stories. Everybody will know who it is. And I thought, right, okay. So I kind of parked it, but I still had written quite a few stories. And then the pandemic arrived and I had no clients. And I thought, well, you know what? Sod it, I'm going to write it.
You're not with me anyway.
So I spent the summer just picking up some of those stories, it was funny because I always had that title, The Secret Diary of a Mystery Shopper. It says it all, doesn't it, really? I wanted to tell some good stories, but I also wanted to tell some bad stories. And then you've got the good, the bad, and the exceptional.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been told so many times that the bad story sells the most, right? But
Well, it's
for me,
juicy, I think, right? Like people are like, oh, I can't believe somebody would do that. But I think there's that inner gut check also that happens that you're like, oh God, I've done that.
yes, absolutely. And that's what the book is exactly for. That is totally exactly what the book is for, Tanya, is to actually get the businesses and even employees to read the book and read the stories and think, oh, what would happen if that happens to us? How would we handle it? And that's really there's always a moral to the story. So I tell a bit of the story and then I say, well, okay, if that's your situation, perhaps you should think about this or you should think about that. So there was we were doing a new spa, and over the last few years I wasn't doing many visits. I used to do visits when it was a new client, so I could really understand what was going on before I send anybody else. And so it was a spa salon, and brown, beautiful, absolutely. I was so looking forward to that massage.
The perk of the job.
Oh, the perk of the job, absolutely. So I parked the car. I was, arrived. The windows looks amazing. I walked through the door. Oh, it smells beautiful. The lights is on. You can hear the music straight away. You walk in there. You feel relaxed. The young lady just get me to sign a few forms, and then she takes me around. And oh, you're with me? Are you with me on that
Yeah.
one? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You're
I can
following
feel,
me.
I can even smell like
Oh, you can
the
smell
light
it.
eucalyptus and the, you're just
Oh,
like, oh, I'm going to be relaxed.
beautiful. And then the pool is there, and oh, experience shower. It's just dripping, and the light is on,
Mm.
and you go and change there, and then come and join me in the relaxation room. So I do. I arrive in there. I sit in there again. Beautiful music. I start relaxing. They give me a cup of tea. One of those herbal tea things, and you're just like, oh,
I'm in
music.
heaven. Yeah.
I So I get to the treatment room, and then we start the treatment, and the young girl, beautiful. The bed is hot, and the massage is just beautiful. And she explains what she's done to my face and my hair, and why I smell so gorgeous. And then at the end of the treatment, she shows me the bottles and how to use them, and the benefit on my face, how much younger I'm going to look once I start using it. And I spent £250 on that visit. I bought all the product. I'm not supposed to be buying anything.
But hey.
So I've left and I spent 3 times what I was supposed to be doing. And, all that because that amazing experience, the amazing, walking through every single bit work together. I was so taken by it. The therapist, so beautiful. She was doing the right thing. She was, telling me what it would do, explain how, why, everything worked together. And that's what, when you create a really fantastic experience, when you have your customer journey, all your touch points, which are really mapped out, and everybody consistently deliver that great service, that's when people don't mind spending the money on it, because you're doing what's right for them. Of course, the owner of the shop had a good laugh at me because I spent more money.
Thank you for coming.
And I said, well, surely I should have a discount on that. But you see what I mean? It's that real, it's those touch points, is that journey, understanding the journey and getting everybody to be part of it. Then the therapist was so good. We used her as training the other therapist, just using some of the words that she was using, and showing how she's using. And so she was training the other therapist. No one knew that she was so good at what she was doing. They knew she was good, but then we put a whole program around how she was doing it, which was an amazing way to even better. And even if the experience was amazing, they've managed to bring it up again and bring it up again, take it another notch. that's what you want. You're always trying to do what's right for your customers, and they'll want to come back. They'll want to buy from you. They'll want to recommend you to your friends and family. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Well, and I love what you said there, because I think that sometimes that gets overlooked, is that people, have a really great employee who, is always going above and beyond, the one that gets all of the compliments, the one the customers love, they always want that one person. But are you really looking, deeper into why? Why do people love this person so much? What are they doing that is different from, employee B, and really looking at that and going, oh, okay, we need to, how can we multiply this for
Mm-hmm.
everybody else? Because I think that's, an important thing, like you said, that you want to do. How can you
Mm-hmm.
recreate that experience across the board for everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's those kind of things that make my job so amazing. Of course, I did enjoy the massage.
How could you not?
Don't get me wrong. But being able to see the companies moving forward, even when they're already doing things right, there's always things that you can improve. There's always things that you can look at, think differently, bring, new ideas. And again, bring your staff part of it. They are the ones who are on the front line. They the one who knows how it works and what would work and what wouldn't work. So being, and the more you involve them, the more they'll want to be part with you on that journey.
And I think this is also something too that, businesses can really look at when they're making big decisions. Because, as I'm thinking we were part of a franchise and all the decisions were being made, I always called it from the ivory tower. So people
Mm-hmm.
who had never done the job, had never sort of been on the floor, to sort of use that example. And of course, everybody who was on the floor was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, these decisions you're making, it's literally impossible for us to do this work in the amount of time. So I think
Yeah.
even if you're, if you're in a business and you're thinking, hey, we want to make these decisions, and you're not getting, say, good feedback from your
Mm.
employees, this is something that a service like this can help you with, to sort of get a better idea of how is everything running, how is everything working,
Mm-hmm.
and does that fit in?
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, I'm going to give the those who are listening to us and watching us, there's 4 steps that you need to look at and consistently doing. So the first one is assessing. So this is the part where you're asking the questions, understanding what your customer want, what your employee wants. Ask those questions consistently. Once you know what they want, then you can, start implementing some new, developing new strategies. So you develop strategies. That's the number 2. Then, of course, once you've developed a new strategy, you will implement it or train your staff on it. It's no point to do all that work if no one knows about it, right?
Right. Doesn't do you any good sitting in a training manual.
Absolutely, absolutely not. And of course, the last one is measuring. So that when you're starting any new program, assess first, develop, then implement, and then you measure to make sure that everything's working the way it should be. And you do that, it's like consistently. It's like virtual circle, isn't it? I call it the woggle dance. I just love bees, so it's always something that it's my little woggle dance.
So you also have a mastermind group that you're launching. Tell us a little bit about what that is, when it starts, but what can people expect out of that?
Yeah, so again, I think the pandemic, obviously mystery shopping. A lot of people think about it's a large organization, or it's bricks and mortar, and it's more retail focus, and me as a small business, it doesn't concern me, or what do I really need it? I know what's going on in my shop. And so, I've met a lot of solopreneurs, small businesses, kind of entrepreneur, over the last 4, 5, 6 months, and they you they have obviously a passion. They know they've got a product. Don't necessarily know the steps on how to make it better, how to attain and retain customers. And sometimes we're always driving to find new customers when again, having those tools and techniques to look after your former, your current customers or your old customers, bringing them back into a program and those loyalty things. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for the smaller businesses, which have a different need than a large organization when we put big mystery shopping program or big strategies together. And so the mastermind group was to take a little group of people who really want to move forward with their business and actually be able to coach them through, obviously, great, amazing customer experiences, how to do that, giving them some really good tools by doing some coaching, group coaching. I thought at first doing a big thing and, let's bring everybody. And then I just didn't feel right. I don't know why. Sometimes you just think, that doesn't feel right. And I thought, no, if I can get just 20 people who really want to make a difference with their business, we can do that. So we can do it together. And then I can invite other people as well. So I'll have guests coming in, because obviously I'm not an expert on everything, but I know a lot of people who are really love, coming in and doing some stuff as well. So the aim is it's business mastery, to thriving, to service excellence. And that's, what I'd like to do. So for smaller businesses, so that will be launching on the 1st of March, which I'm quite excited about.
Yeah. And I think that that's an important tool, because I think there's so many businesses right now that were in the same situation like you talked about, that are doing major shifts, that a lot that are going into avenues like online and stuff that they've never, really had to do that much anymore. And so they're kind of feeling that, they're stepping into new territory. And then now, how do I deal? How do I manage that? Because it's not something that was ever on my radar, because no one thought what was going to happen was going to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and there's so much passion out there. People, I found it so genuine. People really want to help each other. There's a real, although we're all feeling that we're also not close to each other, but we are in different ways. We're connecting from all parts of the world at different time of the day. And I think we really, I think collaboration this year is going to be a big word for every businesses.
And I love that. That's one of my keywords, is one of my buzzwords. But I think it's true. I think that that's something that businesses need to start looking into, collaborating with other businesses, but also more so with their employees, because that's going to be, that's going to be a key thing. And hopefully you're hiring people because they have, experience or a gift, or they have a little something that you're like, I need to take that. I need to harness that. And, and really start building that team. I think there's going to be a lot more of like, team building, with employees and with customers, that
Mm.
are happening.
And the third layer, so we talked about the customers, we talked about the people, the employees, but there's and we talked about the culture a little bit as well, the values. But there's a fourth part which I bring into things all the time. It's the environment. I'm a feng shui practitioner, so I truly believe that our environment affect the way we behave. It affects the way we think, we feel, we behave. And so if you have an environment which is nice, which is healthy, which is bright, which has, some natural plants and make you feel you'll want to come to work, you'll want to be, and everybody's been moved out of their offices and moved into cramped part of your bedrooms or on the kitchen table. And this is a big important responsibility for business owners, is to take care of the environment of their employees, to make sure that they have got the right environment so they can perform to the best of their ability. Definitely really important, the environment piece.
And I think that's an important piece too for, anybody who's listening that is in that situation, like they're that employee who is at home, is really taking a conscious look of how are you creating that environment? Are you just shoving yourself into a corner of the room, or are you setting something up that, like you said, makes you feel good? Like you actually want to sit at that little desk, or you actually want to hide in your closet, or, like that's somewhere that you're going to enjoy going to. because it just helps to make your day go by better.
Absolutely. And it's compartmenting things as well. So, I know it's not easy for everybody, but having a corner or having a piece that you are keeping for you and that environment, even the children in their bedrooms, we've had children working from home and all that kind of things, having a moment you get up and you do some work, and that consistency in what they're doing is really important to be able to continue having a focused mind into what you're doing.
Yeah. So if someone's out there and they're thinking, okay, I have a bigger business, I know I need some help with this. Or even like you said, the smaller business who's like, okay, I'm out of my element. I need help. I know that I want to do something. What's the best way for them to go find how they can work with you and the mastermind?
The easiest way is just Google me. I'm everywhere. So claireboscott.com is my website. If you Google Claire Boscott, you may find busyqueenbee.com, which is my very first website when I was doing all the mystery shopping face to face and all that kind of thing. So Busy Queen Bee is still the name of my company. And so either one or the other, you'll get some information and you'll get an email where we can have a chat. I'm very happy to do a discovery call just to understand what are your challenges and what do you think that it's going to help you, and those kinds. Sometimes just talking it through with somebody else, you say, oh yeah, and that's an important part as well of the mastermind group, is having a sounding board and being able to create an environment where you can ask a question or you can say something and you don't have to feel silly because you've asked that question. That's in a business, when you're a small business, it's you don't always have that, and that's
Yeah.
you can really kind of get into trouble. I mean, I got into trouble so many times.
Yeah, it's much easier to learn from other people's mistakes than to make them and try to learn from them. That's been a hard one for me too.
Absolutely. People say, oh, you will learn from your mistake. I say, well, if I'd rather not do the mistake, for somebody tell me not to do it, I would rather not do it.
Yeah, eventually, but sometimes I'm like, I've been here before. Why does this keep happening? Well, I know I'm not learning something, but okay, I don't want to do this again.
Absolutely.
Claire, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time today to talk to us. And just before we go, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but if you could leave us with maybe one tip for entrepreneurs, if they're thinking, if they have that little inkling that maybe there's something that I can change, what is one tip that you could say, here's somewhere that you can start to start making a difference? What would that be?
So I always say bring more care into what you do, into your business. And care is be very clear with what you're doing. Be as clear and as congruent as you can with your messages. Then take action. Let's do this. If you're saying you're doing something, do it. Really kind of put in motion things. Don't wait 3 months for doing, something. And then you got your R, which is rapport. We talked about that. Relationships are so important. Nurture this relationship at every touch point that you want. And E, which is the last one, and I forgot the last one. Oh, where's my last one? Empathy. Empathy. That's it. That's my word. Empathy. Put yourself in everybody else's shoes. Before you say anything, before you do anything, think about how would you feel if you were in that situation. Show them that you care by really bringing some empathy into what you do.
I love that. That's such a great tip. And I think we could all stand to care a little bit more in our businesses. Thank you so much again for taking time. I look forward to staying connected with you. We'll make sure we have all of the links to where people can find you, your book, which is a #1 Amazon bestseller, and on the hot new release, which is amazing. And then as well, where people can find the mastermind group and everything on our website. So you can just head there to do a quick link, just a quick click to find everywhere.
That's it. Well, thank you so much. It was just amazing speaking to you, and look forward to do it again.
Yes, absolutely. Claire has so many great resources on her website. And as well, I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of her books to just explore more on some of the stuff that she's had. We all know we love like a good story about stuff like that. So make sure that you head out and look for her books as well. So you can head to our website at foxtalksbusiness.ca, click on blogs on the left-hand side, and you will be able to see this episode and all of the places that you can connect with Claire, be able to find her book. And as well, she is offering her 12-module small business online course, which is usually $198. And it's going to give you 10 steps to deliver exceptional customer experiences. And she's offering that to all of the Foxy listeners for free. So head to our blog and you'll be able to get the link where you'll be able to access that. And if you're ever curious about what happens and how much smiling we actually do with these guests, you can also find our episodes on our YouTube channel. So just head to YouTube and look for Fox Talks Business. You'll see our little Foxy logo and you'll be able to see who it is that we're talking to. Another fun way to experience the world of podcasting. So no matter what you're doing today, whether you're trying to just have that extra little bit of customer service or you're revamping the entire way you do things, make sure that you're finding a way to have fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?